Hey, and welcome to your Algebra 2 with Probability course. We are going to look at Lesson 1.01, Solving Linear Equations. So in our intros, you usually get like a little real-world example of things. We have our progress bar here, and then you need to score at least an 80 or higher to move on to the practice in the unit. So skill check, this lesson should be somewhat of a review from Algebra 1. So depending on when you took it, it probably could have had a year in between things, but there are a couple different examples here that you can kind of walk yourself through and see if you are good to go. So an equation is a mathematical statement that states two things are equal. It consists of two expressions, one on each side of an equal sign. And then the solution to an equation, does x equal 8? We can plug x back in or substitute it back into our original equation. If this is true, then yes, 8 would be a solution. If we substitute our value back in and we get a false statement, then no, it's not considered a solution. Let's jump right in. So solving linear equations with one solution, we have a couple of examples here. Again, feel free to look through these on your own time and make sure that you completely understand what's going on. We have another example here with some fractions. So if you're not great with fractions, please feel free to review that example. Be careful with these. So there is only one way to enter these into the boxes. So just be careful how you're entering in your answers and pay attention to what it's actually asking you to do. So this guided example 1 says find the solution to the linear equation. It's broken down by steps. So you're not going to solve it all out and put your answer here. This part says to just distribute. Do not include any spaces in your answers because spaces will count as a character. So first we are going to just distribute. So 2 times 2t gives me 4t. 2 times negative 10 is negative 20. Then on the other side of the equal sign, we're going to type in this box here. So negative 6 times 2t is negative 12t. And then negative 6 times that positive 2 is negative 12. And then as you're going, feel free to just check your work. So hit submit and it'll turn green if you are correct. Next step would be to add 12t to both sides. So it's getting rid of this term here. And so 4t plus the 12t gives me 16t. And then bring down that minus 20. And then on the right side of my equal sign, I'm just left with the negative 12, the constant here. And again, we'll submit and make sure that we are doing each step correctly. Add 20 to both sides. So we're getting rid of this term here. I'm left with 16t on the left. Add 20 to negative 12, and that gives me a positive 8. And then solve for t. Since 16t is multiplied, we're going to go ahead and divide both sides by 16. 8 divided by 16 is 1/2. Be careful because this says write your answer as a decimal to the nearest tenth. So 1 decimal place, 0.5. Here we have another guided example. Again, we've got some fractions in here. So find the solution to the linear equation. First step is to distribute. So we're going to distribute the 3 through to our fraction. They've already done this side for you. So then 3 times 1 is 3. And then multiply every term by the least common denominator. Both of the denominators here are 2. So we're going to multiply this whole thing by 2. They've gone ahead and kind of showed you how to do that here. The 2 cancels out with the 2 on the bottom of this fraction, and we are left with negative 21a. 2 times 3 is 6. And then the 2 times the 69 over 2, the 2's cancel out, and you're left with the numerator. Next, we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. So we're getting rid of this term here. I'm left with negative 21a on the left side of my equation. Subtract 6 from 69, and that gives me 63. And then we're going to solve for a. So again, negative 21 is multiplied to a. So to undo that, we divide. So divide both sides by negative 21. And that gives us negative 3. Okay. Moving on to number of solutions of linear equations. Again, your progress bar is here, and you can tab through these. You can always go back if you need to check over anything. So a linear equation can have one solution, no solution, or infinitely many solutions. A linear equation with infinitely many solutions, when you solve, the variables cancel and you are left with a true statement like 4 equals 4. So in other words, no matter what number you substitute in for the variable or x, you will always end up with a true statement. If a linear equation has no solution, when you solve it, the variables cancel and you're left with a false statement with a number equal to another number, like 0 equals 4. Obviously, 0 is not the same as 4, so that is no solution. And then a linear equation with one solution, when you solve it, the variable will be equal to a number, such as x equals 4. So number equal to same number, infinitely many, number equal to different number, no solution, variable equal to some number, one solution. There is a video that also goes through and explains each of those types. Again, there are several examples in here. So for this example, we get 3 equals 7. 3 does not equal 7, so there are no solutions to this equation. For this example here, we have 5 equal to 5. So notice that it's the same on each side. So we have infinitely many solutions to this equation. So for guided example 1, find the solution to the linear equation. Again, it's not asking you to solve it all in one step. It breaks it down into the different steps for you. So we're going to start by distributing this set of parentheses here. So 2 times 3x gives us 6x. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. And then they brought down the negative 4x and the right side of the equation for you. So just be careful when you're typing these in. Combine like terms. So up here I have a 6x and a negative 4x. 6 minus 4 is 2. So that leaves me with 2x, and bring down the negative 10. Now obviously you have 2x minus 10 and 2x minus 7. If I were just to subtract the 2x from both sides, I'm left with negative 10 is equal to 7. Those are not the same number, so this has no solution. All right, and then moving on to real-world applications of linear equations. Step 1, read the problem and determine what information is given and what you are trying to find. Choose a variable to represent your unknown quantity. Write the equation that represents the situation. Solve the equation. Verify the answer by substituting it back in. Again, video, there's 2 examples. If these 2 guided examples are not enough, please click through those. Cookies are on sale for 75 cents off. If you buy 7 cookies on sale, it will cost you $2.80. Find the full price, P, of each cookie. So the sale price is the price minus 0.75. The sale price of 7 cookies is $2.80. Write a linear equation that models the price of 7 cookies. So we know that the total price is $2.80. So I'm going to put $2.80 on this side. And then they've already included the P minus 75, so that's the price with the 75 cents off, and I want to know the price of 7 cookies. And so we can model it by this function. Then instead of distributing that 7 to the P in the negative 0.75, what they did here was the other method of just dividing both sides by that 7 first. And so 280 divided by 7 is 0.4, but since we are talking about money, Make sure to throw that extra 0 at the end. Otherwise, it will mark it as incorrect. Add 0.75 to both sides of the equation. So to undo this minus, add it to the other side. And then the price of one cookie is $1.15. So 0.4 add 0.75. And so the full price of each cookie is $1.15. Next, got an example. We have a rectangle that has a perimeter of 80 feet. The length L of the rectangle is 4 feet more than 3 times the width. So this statement here tells me nothing about the width itself. It says the length of the rectangle is 4 feet more than 3 times the width. So 4 feet more than 3W looks like 3W plus 4. Again, if you do type this incorrectly, if you were to type in 4 plus 3W, technically that's correct, but this program only allows you to type it one way. Okay, so always write it in standard form with the variable first. And so now that we know that the length of the rectangle is 3W plus 4, we can substitute that 3W plus 4 into our perimeter formula for L. So I'm going to put that there. And then we know that the total perimeter, so P, is 80. So I'm going to put 80 in this box. Then we'll go ahead and distribute. So notice that they've brought the 2W down. We're not combining like terms yet. We're just distributing. So 2 times 3W is 6W, and 2 times 4 is 8. Now we're combining like terms. They brought that 8 down for you. So 6W plus 2W is 8W. Subtract 8 from both sides of the equation. Subtract the 8 over here. 80 minus 8 is 72. And then we're solving for W. So 72 divided by 8 is 9. And that's our width. And then we're going to go back up here. The length is 3 times that plus 4. So 3 times 9 is 27. And then if we add 4 to 27, we get 31. And that is the length. And then last but not least, we have a summary page that just kind of sums up the important aspects of the lesson. So key concepts: linear equations are composed of constants and variables. And then, yeah, that's it. Let me know if you have any questions.